Over the past decade, we have all watched angry partisanship paralyze politics. In Fort Worth, the Republican mayor there says enough is enough. Mayor Mattie Parker also took our questions on the future of Sundance Square, potential civil unrest around the upcoming trial of a former cop, and whether she is going to run for a second term next year. It is a wide-ranging interview we did with Mayor Parker from her office at City Hall in Fort Worth. Mayor Parker, welcome back to the program. Good morning to you. Let's start with the crusade you are on. You've spoken at least twice publicly in the last month about how partisan politics is becoming something that we're all watching. The GOP is an example of that. You said the mayor of Fort Worth is a nonpartisan seat. You are a Republican. That's not a secret at all. But why in the world do you want to wade into that?
Well, I kind of felt like I had to, honestly, Jason. And I should caveat here that I don't think anyone is immune from this conversation. I think Democrats are experiencing this in their own party as well, hyperpartisanship, what it's like to get through a primary election. And then the GOP Republicans are in the same place. And as you know well, it's no secret how close I am to Mayor Price and having served on her staff and been a close friend of hers. And watching that campaign over several months just made it more personal to me. And I had the opportunity to at least speak my mind and also remind voters here in Fort Worth and residents here that we get things done here because we work together and we do find compromise and consensus. And I'm just deeply concerned across the country of what I'm seeing, this hyper politicization of every single issue and an inability to come together. So that was the true reason why I decided to say something.
And Mayor Price lost her primary election to Tim O'Hare, who is no secret, they're farther right on the spectrum. Have you reached out to Tim O'Hare, who's
No, I've gotten to meet Tim one time in person at an event a few weeks ago. And again, whether Tim wins or Deborah wins as county judge, I look forward to partnership and working with them because we have to do that. We've always had an incredibly important relationship with Tarrant County. Judge Whitley and his commissioner's court have always made that a priority, as has Fort Worth and City Council. We'll keep doing that. But it's still okay for me to speak my mind and frustration within my own party about what I've seen lately. And I want us to focus on the issues. Look, when you're running a campaign, everything's on the table. And I think we have gotten away from the issues, the policy decisions that people make. And we decide instead that, the certain kind of pictures on a mailer are going to be more important. And that's frustrating to me.
Let's talk about the crown jewel of downtown Fort Worth, which is Sundance Square. For those viewers who might not have been there yet across the state, it's a restaurant and entertainment district, been around for years. It's been in the news a lot lately. Tenants say the management district has not communicated with them. Half of the spaces there are vacant. The Riata Steakhouse, the famous steakhouse there, a 3-story steakhouse, has said it's going to look for a new home. Parking is no longer free there. How did all this go south?
There are concerns. I get this question almost every hour of every day. What is the vision for Sundance Square?
Yeah.
I have to remind people that it is a private business. And so my prerogative has been to work with all sides and attempt to build additional harmony and vision downtown. Right now, I do think that people's concerns are valid, but I'm not going to pick a side. At the same time, when you have announcements like Riata, which is a beloved institution in downtown Fort Worth looking for a new location, I hope that all of us heed warning about that, because you cannot lose the Riatas of the world downtown without a huge hit to your economy and what makes Fort Worth and downtown so special. So I'll keep trudging, right? Keep working with ownership of Sundance, as well as the other owners around downtown Fort Worth to keep our success moving forward. And
as you mentioned, Sundance Square is privately owned by Ed and Sasha Bass, the Bass family there. Have you spoken to them about what all's going on?
I have. I've spoken to them several times about it. And I've also talked to and worked very closely with the leadership of Downtown Fort Worth, Inc. And
what have the Basses told you?
They have a new vision for Sundance Square, and they're trying to execute on that. And so, again, you shouldn't want me to, nor do I have any control over private business. I think the number one factor right now is communicating whatever that vision may be to residents and visitors downtown and refocusing those efforts. And am I frustrated? Sure, because I get a lot of questions about this. But I also have to have faith that private businesses, specifically Mr. Bass, who has been an incredible visionary for downtown Fort Worth and for the entire community, are allowed some time to let that vision to come to fruition.
Well,
But
what
it
will
doesn't
that
mean I'm not
vision
paying
look like?
attention.
Yeah,
What's that?
what will that vision look like, do you think?
I think you have to ask them about what they want to do for the enhancement of small business downtown, as well as what their game plan is to make sure our restaurants are successful in Sundance Square.
Do you have any idea when it might be fulfilled or when they're hoping to really hit the reset
I
button
really
on it?
don't. I really don't.
I want to talk about the bond election coming up as well, too. You guys have a bond election May 7th, and part of it is to preserve open space in Fort Worth. Is open space really in jeopardy?
So it is, and I was trying to think of the statistic. It's around 50 acres per week, Jason, that are developed in the city of Fort Worth every single week. We're the fastest growing city. We talk about that a lot. And with growth comes tremendous opportunity, but you also have a huge risk. And one of those risks is an overdevelopment of our beautiful green space and open space across the city of Fort Worth. We started this open space initiative several years ago, mostly using general fund dollars in partnership with the Trust for Public Land to protect the areas of our city that needed protecting the most. It's been very successful. One of the biggest purchases we made was Broadcast Hill in East Fort Worth to add to the Tandy Hills area, the beautiful community area. And so what we asked the question in this next bond, what should we be doing differently to plan? So we're asking voters to approve $15 million to dedicate to this open space fund to help us purchase land across this community for open space and a contiguous area that needs to be protected in the city.
Next month as well, Mayor, the murder trial for Aaron Dean begins. He is the former Fort Worth police officer who is charged with murdering Tatiana Jefferson. Is the city making any contingency plans for civil unrest?
I've been working very closely with Chief Neil Noakes and the Fort Worth Police Department, along with several community leaders, actually since the day I took office, to help prepare this community, both for the trial and importantly for healing. So yes, we do have contingency plans and are working actually with several of the organizations that led protests in the summer of 2020 to make sure they understand peaceful protests will absolutely be welcome and allowed, that there's a line we're going to draw if things were to become violent or dangerous for community. But I feel very confident in the work that Chief Noakes and his department have laid the groundwork to make sure Fort Worth can weather what will be a very difficult several weeks in the month of May during this trial, but importantly, focus on healing the community, which I think should be all of our focus moving forward.
Mayor, last things here. You're approaching a year in office. You've been around City Hall for years, but what didn't you expect in this role?
Gosh, it's different when your name's on the door, Jason. I was really lucky to get to staff at different levels for almost 17 years before I took office. So yes, it's different when it's you. I also didn't really anticipate the veracity with which things would take off, meaning I knew the issues, I knew the people, but when you take office in June, you're in the middle of budget season for the city and preparing in July recess and head into August, and you just hit the ground running. So that was maybe first and foremost. And then secondly is, how does a city, and I've talked to my other peers across the country, really come out of COVID and this pandemic stronger and smarter? And what are the policies we need to protect our residents differently, both in public health and our economic realm? And then importantly, how do you come together again? Because there's such this hunger to be together. And Texas reopened and Fort Worth reopened a lot faster than some of our other cities across the country. But there's still a disconnect with community. And then lastly, I would just say the long lasting impacts to our students and our schools across our area, and what, as their mayor, I need to be doing to be better partnered with our school districts, our charter schools, our private schools, our homeschool families, to make sure our students are protected and catch up as quickly as possible in what's been a very difficult several years.
Your term is up next year. Are you going to run for re-election?
Yes, I am going to run for re-election.